Welcome to the Online Success Journey Podcast, your opportunity to discover and learn from entrepreneurs like yourself. This is not your typical podcast, but a place where you can get the real story and find out how real people encounter speed bumps and detours, but journey through to find success. Now here's your host for the Online Success Journey Podcast, Patience.
Hello everyone and welcome to Online Success Journey. This is episode 122. Are you ready to join the clan? Today we have Ellen Gendelman, a speaker, author, MS, LPC, CPC, a licensed psychotherapist and a certified professional coach who specializes in working with relationships. She cherishes her own roles as a wife, a mother, and a grandmother. Her passion is helping people grow and maximize their potential. Hello, Ellen.
Hello. It's so nice to get a chance to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you for coming. I know here the clan is anxious to hear your story, so let's get started with the basics. Can you tell my clan a little bit about your background, about what you did before you started on your journey of being a psychotherapist and author?
Absolutely, I would love to. So, where do I start? I'll tell you one story that had a major influence on my life and on my journey. When I was a little girl of 7, my father died. He had cancer, and it was a very quick illness. And as my mother raised her 2 little girls, I was the oldest. She continued to tell us that even if she knew that my father would die after 9 short years of marriage, she would do the same thing again, because having a true, loving relationship in life was worth even the pain of losing him. And that made a tremendous impact on me, understanding the way a little girl can understand that there's nothing that has a more far-reaching impact on our lives and even after life than knowing we're loved, knowing we love, and knowing we matter. And so I think that was the beginning.
Wow, what a background, Ellen. So what is the most dangerous belief as an author or a therapist coach can have?
Wow. Okay, that's an interesting question. I have to say nobody ever asked that question, so you are original. The most dangerous belief that I can think of is that people cannot change. Because if we believe either this is the way I am or this is the way he or she is, then we block ourselves from being able to grow. We block ourselves from being able to hear constructive feedback. We block ourselves from positive change, and we block ourselves from being able to establish secure relationships. And basically, we lock ourselves into a victim role. So to me, that's got to be up there among the most dangerous beliefs.
Why do you do what you do, Ellen?
Why do I do what I do? I love helping people. I can think of very few missions in life that are so deeply satisfying than knowing you make a difference in somebody's life and you help them to understand themselves, to understand others, to develop secure relationships, and to know that life can be meaningful. People are so lonely when they're isolated, if they don't feel they belong, if they don't feel good about themselves. And often that goes together with physical health problems, emotional health problems, deep isolation, addiction problems, you name it, and it goes there. And when we can help create a dent in that and give a person hope, meaning, happiness, I come home, even though the sessions are draining in some ways, of course, they're also energizing when I know that every day I have the privilege of working with people on their journeys.
Okay, let's put man aside. When did you know you are really successful in your field?
Wow. Okay, when do I know I'm successful? I guess I tried. This is a very interesting question again. So you're you're getting up there. I think that I don't stop. meaning there's no point that I say, Esther, you've arrived, Ellen, you've arrived. Sorry, I also go by Esther. You've arrived, you've hit the ceiling, and there's no more need to grow. I think the fact that I always want to learn, I always want to grow, I always want to improve, that contributes to being successful. And I remember once I was in a clinical counseling class, and the professor was talking about when we feel we've achieved and we're just there in that good place. And one woman, she must have been in her 50s, raised her hand and said, that's it, I'm here. I've done everything I want to. And I remember at that time feeling physically nauseous, like it literally a physical reaction and a sadness, this profound sadness, because to me, as long as we're living, we want to be growing, we want to be improving, we want to be reaching. That's part of the happiness of the journey. And for somebody to feel there's nowhere else to go, that was sad. So I guess I pray that I am successful. I get feedback from people. I can feel it myself as they're growing and changing. But maybe even more important is that I try to walk the walk and be a model of what I'm advocating, so that I'm always seeking my own growth and improvement. And I hope to never be finished.
Wow. What are the keys to creating and sustaining a healthy and satisfying long-term personal business relationship?
Oh, did you say business?
Yes.
Aha, okay. The truth is, as I'm thinking now, and you're making me think on my feet, I'm not sure it's drastically different from what I would have said. Because any relationship, whether for business or personal, if it's going to be a real relationship, has to be based on trust and has to be based on mutual giving and receiving, that it's not a one-way street, has to be based on follow-up, that if somebody says something, they're going to follow up, and has to be based on taking responsibility, because we're human, we're all going to mess up, there will be misunderstandings, there will be mistakes, there will be occasional double bookings, there will be internet connections that don't work, and it's accepting the fact that we are human, that we're limited, taking responsibility for ourselves, and being able to repair when it goes wrong. I think when we have those ingredients in place, as well as some healthy boundaries, because if we sometimes in a feeling of desperation, we want to overpromise. And then we can't possibly fulfill that promise. We can't be there 24/7 for everybody. It's impossible. And we need our own self-care. And we need our own little breaks in order to be healthy and to keep our oxygen tank full. So those would be some of the keys that I think would make an effective business relationship and any kind of effective relationship. We got to start with building trust.
Do you think along the way, as today we are seeing relationships are breaking, businesses are getting problems, do you think along the way we have lost the track, we have lost our values, we have lost who we are?
I think it's easy to lose who we are, especially today. There's so much distraction out there. It's so easy to get addicted to technology. It's so easy to distract ourselves from being with ourselves. Think about it. We get in the car, we turn on the radio. We get home, we're on the phone, or we're on social media, or we're watching TV. How much are we alone with just reflection? Who are we? Where are we going? And then what am I doing to get there? Where am I falling off? And because we're bombarded and our senses are bombarded at all times, it's really so easy to neglect that part of ourselves and to make sure that we're being true to ourselves, which would facilitate growth. And I think that's part that goes back to what you asked me before. That's part and parcel of my joy in the work that I do. Because when I sit with the person in a room, and there's no other interruptions, and it's just us, and it's just reflection, and it's just tuning into the compassion, and it's just tuning into the acceptance and being fully there and noticing interference, then it also makes me more true to myself. Because if there's going to be discomfort, if I'm there with that person in the office and then coming home and being something totally different.
Wow. Okay. Now you are a coach, you're a mentor, you're a speaker. Do you have a coach yourself? Do you have a mentor yourself? Or?
I absolutely have had mentors in the past, and I continue to seek mentors in the present and for the future. I wouldn't say there's only one. I would say that when I read a wonderful book that makes an impression on me or inspires me, that's one way to find a mentor. When I get supervision from people who have long-term experience and success in a certain therapy model I'm working on, that's a mentor. When I look at a coach who's built her business successfully, because my trajectory, and I didn't tell you yet my career trajectory, which I'm happy to, really didn't leave too much room for business training. So I was a teacher, then a principal, and in getting to know my students and learning that just there's nothing more important to me than the relationship. As much as I love the learning, that's what sent me back to school, to train in this way, to want more tools. But at nowhere in my education or my training did I get the business part, and all of a sudden I'm in private practice and I have to learn how to make a business too. So yes, I seek business mentors, and then I seek personal and spiritual mentors for people that I just respect who they are, what they stand for, and the way they operate. So the answer to that would be a resounding yes, and I think it's a big part of my growth and not being satisfied with any status quo.
What is the most valuable thing your mentors or coaches has told you, personal or business?
Wow, again, a tough question. What is the most valuable piece of advice that I've ever received? There are so many, it's hard to narrow it down to one. So if I may, I'm going to give you one of. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay. So I would say one of the most important pieces of advice I got was 4 words. Are you ready? 4 words. It's not about you. Meaning when I work with people, this is not about me feeling good. Just like when we parent, it's not about they should be our little happiness producing machines so I could put a sticker on the back of my car and say, I am the parent of. It's about giving each child what they need so they can be their best. Same with the teacher, same with the therapist. If the byproduct of good work with people means I am filled with joy because I have an important role to play, then so be it. But it's about what's best for them. And I think keeping that at the forefront of my mind helps me to go forward and not get stuck. And I'll give you another example. Let's say I have a couple that comes in for marriage therapy, and I give them the best of what I have to offer. And at the end of the day, they decide they don't want their marriage. Now, if this would be just about me, then I would consider that a failure, because here I am trying to save their marriage. But if it's about them and honoring their choices, and I've been there for them, and I've given them the research-based tools, and I've helped them to take an honest look at themselves, then I also respect their right to choose, because it's not about me or what I want. It's about respecting them and what they want. And that could be hard, but that's what guides me.
Okay. What are the benefits of working with a psychotherapist or a professional coach? Do you think there is any? Do you think anyone should work with a psychotherapist? Because for me, I think it is like a luxury.
Yeah, I certainly admit my bias, but I think there are many, many benefits, not just one. First of all, now that scientifically we can see into the brain, there are before and after effects that we can see in the brain as to anxiety places decreasing, pain places decreasing, pleasure places increasing. We can see addictions being lowered. We can see relationships being more meaningful. We can see people being more successful at work and at home. We can see people learning to like themselves and accept themselves. So I think there are so many benefits. It would take more than the time that you and I have together to list them. I would say the only problem that would block a person from receiving benefits is if the person doesn't want to change. If a person, it has to be not a magic wand that somebody comes into me and says, Ellen, fix me. I'm here. Now you do the work. You fix me. That doesn't work in coaching, and that doesn't work in therapy. When a person comes in and genuinely wants to do the work and has the benefit of an objective, trained facilitator who can help them hear themselves, hear their inconsistencies, hear their thoughts, make sense of it in a way because they're not blinded by personal bias, right? Then there is so much benefit. And when we talk about coaches, business people, successful business people have coaches, Olympic athletes have coaches. The evidence is there too, that when somebody has somebody rooting for them, again, that has the ability to listen and help a person formulate goals and have accountability to those goals, then it's huge. It's a support system that, and we all need support. There's no question.
Wow. Okay. What is the most valuable thing you have ever given away?
So when you say thing, I'm assuming that we just don't mean tangible, but we might mean abstract too. Would that be accurate?
Yes.
I would say the most valuable thing I've ever given away would be my love, my care, my concern, my compassion, and my belief in a person's ability to achieve their goals. And what's interesting is that when you give away those, you get them back. I guess I can give you an analogy that when you take a candle and light another candle, you don't lose from the first flame. You only increase the flames.
Wow. Thank you so much. Okay, let's talk about your book. I'm just really wanting to know about this book and why did you call it When Ice Cream Is Not Enough? Tell us about your book and how your title came about.
I would love to. It was so much fun. Okay, first of all, even though I am on a weight loss journey, and thank God I've gotten far on my weight loss journey, but there's still somewhere that comes from. So at the moment, I love my ice cream from afar, just to put that out there. But I do love my ice cream. So what happened with this title is I have friends and neighbors, they live across the street, and they invited me to come and do a brainstorming meeting. And they had about 8 smart, creative people around the table. This particular neighbor is a talented CEO of a company, and he runs brainstorming meetings all the time. And so he's doing it professionally, and we're all writing on yellow papers, and then we're seeing, what types of feelings we get from different type of titles, and we're brainstorming, and we're having a great time, and we're laughing. And here's the interesting PS. I came home from 2 hours that night, having had a great time, feeling so happy I have supportive, kind neighbors who are rooting for me, but no title did I like. Absolutely none. And so I went to sleep very grateful, and I woke up the next morning, and there it was. And I'm sure it was all the processing and just sleeping on it that produced that. What I was thinking is so many times when people are in pain from loneliness in a relationship or from lack of feeling understood, they turn towards other kinds of superficial comfort. It might be the ice cream, it might be the chocolate, it might even be other relationships outside of theirs, all different ways to comfort ourselves that at the end of the day, they don't work and they make us feel even more lonely than we were before. So when ice cream is not enough, the subtitle is Stories That Nurture Loving Relationships. When we realize that we want to work on it from the inside out, we want to look at ourselves. We want to look at that we're not here to change others, but what can I do to bring a more whole person into that relationship? What am I doing that's blocking myself from receiving, from giving? And then how might I be able to communicate that to the other person? So that was the origin of the title.
Right. Tell us, how can we get all the goodness and all the ice creams out of this book?
Well, I really would look forward to your clan reading it and giving me feedback and giving me reviews. The easiest way to get it is on Amazon. And if they just click on When Ice Cream Is Not Enough on Amazon, it will come up. It is currently in 3 different formats. It's in regular paperback form for those of us who still love to hold an actual book in our hands. And it's also in ebook format, and it's an Audible for those of us who just like to be told stories. I hired a narrator and we did it in Audible. So just clicking on Amazon, all the different formats will come up. And once again, I would really cherish any kind of feedback. Currently, I have 26 reviews on the book, and I want to work my way up to at least 100.
Why don't you shoot for stars? 1 million.
There you go. You know what? I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yes, there you are. So what is the book for? Is this book for a person who's starting on a business journey, personal journey, relationship journey? What is this book? When you are writing this book, who did you write it for?
Excellent. So who's my target audience, right?
Yes.
Okay. Here's where it's tricky. This is probably your only question you asked me today that is a common question because you have been totally original. The difficulty of answering this is because many books have a particular niche or a particular target audience. When we're talking about relationships, I have to say to you, who doesn't want a book on relationships? It's for any person who wants to understand themselves. Who am I in a relationship? What gets in my way? How might I be able to understand that there's more than one valid emotional reaction when we get into a conflict? And they're written in story form so that everybody can probably see themselves in one or the other characters of the stories. There are stories about conflicts in business, conflicts among family members, conflict between spouses, conflicts between parent and child. So the question would have to be, who is it not for? And at the end of the book, what we do is we offer what's called the I Care model, internal compassion and relationship enhancement, which takes a few examples from the books and helps them work through the pain of a conflict and their emotional reaction, and then have it work through from the other character on the other side of a conflict and basically really lead to a shift in perspective. So I hope that answers your question of what a person can hope to gain from this book.
Wow, thank you so much for explaining much more. So now we know when the ice cream is not enough, how to get all the goodness out of it, and it's on Amazon. Okay, I just wanted to ask you that there is a recipe for living a meaning life and a fulfilling life. Are you sure there is a recipe?
I would say that goes back to a question you asked me before, meaning there is a recipe, and it's not one size fits all.
Yes.
But there are common denominators.
Mm-hmm.
There's a recipe that includes trust, that includes self-awareness, that includes self-compassion and compassion for others, that includes enough humility that it's not my way or the highway, that includes a desire and a belief that we can change and we can grow, that includes all of those keys. And I believe that if we incorporate those ingredients, we have a delicious recipe, and that recipe lasts us long after the taste of the ice cream is out of our system.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Okay. So, clan, there will be more from Ellen in a moment. If you are finding Ellen's journey interesting and you are ready to hear more, come and listen to the full version of the interview at onlinesuccessjourney.com. If you are on Online Success Journey already, click on part 2 of Ellen's journey and you'll get lots of more tips to help you in your personal life, in your business life, in your relationship, or in your everyday relationship and life journey. And don't forget also you can access all other online success interview podcasts on the site as well. That's a wrap, clan. Remember, success is a journey. Patience and Ellen.
This is not the end of the journey. We hope you've enjoyed listening to part 1 and want to be sure you know there is a second part to this and every journey podcast at onlinesuccessjourney.com, filled with even more success tips, uplifting stories, and even a bit of fun. There are dozens of episodes only available to the members of the Online Success Journey clan. Check out the website and click on Join the Clan for more information. Patience would like to thank you for listening to this podcast, and she has a free audio gift for you at her website. Go to onlinesuccessjourney.com for instant access to this gift. Of course, you know that listening to the journeys of others helps each of us chart our own path. So make sure you're subscribed to be notified as each new interview is posted. There are so many ways to stay connected to the Online Success Journey and to listen in. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we appreciate your help in telling others. One of the best ways to share the benefit you get is to rate and review it at Stitcher and other sites by clicking the stars or completing the ratings form, by clicking thumbs up and leaving a comment on YouTube, or liking and sharing the podcast on social media. To review the podcast within iTunes, simply open iTunes to the podcast, click on Ratings and Reviews, then write a review. On behalf of Patience, and until next time, thanks once more for listening. It is our hope that this podcast will guide you on your own online success journey.